that that's done, that was a crazy mess. I have cabbage everywhere. Everywhere. Hi friends, and welcome back. This is week 2 of our series on the 52 Sunday dinners. We're using this cookbook here to go through each week of the month and create a different Sunday dinner. This cookbook is from 1924, I believe. So we're working through about 100 years ago of maybe some typical dinners that would have been had back in the day. This week is the 32nd Sunday, and on the dinner menu is iced cantaloupe, American chopped suey, creamed corn, stuffed baked potatoes, celery and coleslaw, with sour cream dressing, blackberry pie and cheese, and coffee. With the stuffed baked potatoes, there's a little treat for this recipe menu this week. There are pictures of what your stuffed baked potatoes should look like. So for our day before, our prep day, which is today, we're going to do our celery and coleslaw with the sour cream dressing, and we're gonna do our blackberry pie. That way that's done ahead of time, and then on the Sunday when we would have been having all of our guests over or all the bulk of the rest of that work after church and cleaning the house and getting ready, it's just a little bit less work for us to do. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with that celery and coleslaw first, and then we'll move on from there. Let's get going. Now that that's done, that was a crazy mess. I have cabbage everywhere. Everywhere. Trying to figure this out. I don't know what mixed mustard is really. We have decided that it is mustard powder that has been mixed, and the ratio on this jar says 2 teaspoons of the powder to 3 teaspoons of water. I mean, this consistency doesn't really look right, but we're gonna go with it. To pre-dress this, but considering that it's a slaw, I think it is just inferred, at least I hope so, that we dress this ahead of time and not that we plate it and then put individual dressing on it. But initially pouring that in there, I didn't think it was going to be enough dressing for this salad or slaw, but it looks like the ratio is not too shabby. We're also going to prep the blackberry pie this evening instead of tomorrow. In my regular life, I am unquestionably a cook and not a baker. There is probably nothing that I loathe more than making a pie crust. And because of that, my little sister is visiting this week and weekend, and she has so graciously and kindly decided she didn't want to hear me whining any longer, and she is going to make the pie crust for us. Probably better for you and better for me. We're taking 1 cup of sifted flour and alternating sifting that in with a ½ teaspoon of salt, and then we're going to add our heaping tablespoon of pure lard, or actually we used butter flavored shortening here. That shortening needs to be cut into the flour before we rub it all together. Now we're going in with that cold water wash to make sure our hands are nice and chilly. This is what it looks like right now, and there's not very much of it, and it wants us to line the whole bottom of the pie dish, plus reserve some for the edge. And then it also talks about making a lettuce on the top or covering the top, and there's just no way it's going to be enough. But then also, my sister is informing me a little bit about the texture of this. And what did you have to say?
So typically what you would do with pie crust is put it in a ball, wrap it in saran wrap, and leave it in the fridge overnight so that it properly hydrates. However, the recipe does not tell us to do that. So what I'm gonna do here is turn it out onto the counter, get it into a small ball, and then let it sit for about 10 minutes.
Okay, and you think that'll at least let it hydrate minimally without compromising the integrity of trying to follow these recipes?
That is the best option I can think of at this time.
Okay, all right. Although the recipe does not call for us to flour our surface, and off camera we've been having a small discussion on whether we should or shouldn't, we have decided that it would be common knowledge in the 20s that you would flour the surface that you're going to roll it onto. So that is what we are doing. That is a sad, sad little ball. This is terrible.
So something has gone terribly wrong, and I'm going to blame it on modern ingredients. With our manufacturing, they are slightly different than they would have been back in the 1920s. And I don't want to blame myself, so that's what I'm blaming it on.
Well, we did follow the recipe except for the resting for 10 minutes, which turned into like 25 minutes. But yeah, that doesn't look good. That does not look good. So this is what we have available. There is nothing left over to do any of the lattice top or sides. We actually had to switch pie dishes out because the other one was much too large, and as you can see, there's no chance it's going to fit in here. I don't know. We're still gonna go with it though. Brushing the bottom with egg white because we wouldn't want this delicious pie crust to get soggy and ruined after all of this hard work. All right, this like kind of physically hurts. These blackberries were like $20 for enough blackberries to make this pie. So although this recipe was made with economy in mind, this is the year 2023 and stuff is expensive. We're gonna sprinkle with our sugar and flour and then dot with our butter, and clearly there is not enough to do a lattice top or anything like that, so this is just gonna have to go straight in the oven. It's only been 25 minutes, but the crust on this is starting to look, as my sister said, a little saltini. So we're gonna pull it out in efforts to not ruin it more than it already is. Oh boy. I think the tops of those berries might be legitimately burnt. Well, it is what it is. It is a blackberry pie. It's the day of the meal now, and I actually have already started making the rest of the items for this week. I just forgot to do this intro video telling you that we're starting, but today we have left the iced cantaloupe, which very labor intensive. We have to cut it into 4 pieces. And then the American chopped suey and the stuffed baked potatoes. And we'll get those going, show you what we're doing with those, and then we'll get to tasting it all. Here we are running our 1 1/4 pounds of round steak and 1/4 pound of pork through the meat grinder attachment on my KitchenAid. I didn't have a food chopper readily available, so this is what we're going with. here we're building our beautiful layers of our meat, onions, macaroni, and then turning in a can of tomatoes. It specifies you can do canned tomatoes or freshly stewed tomatoes. We're splitting it down the middle and doing canned stewed tomatoes. And then repeat.
Turn in your tomato first.
Is this a joke?
No. I assume turning in is like...
Oh, no, I think turning in is just putting it in, because otherwise this wouldn't be layered. Like if I turn it in, all of it would be mixed.
Maybe we do need to do the what does that mean turn.
Yes. I'm not sure. The picture looks like they've only cut off maybe from here. So I guess that's about how high we'll go instead of in half or anything like that. It's adorable, just a little potato heart. I just finished cutting the cantaloupe and I'm getting ready to get the table set. Everything's getting ready to come out of the oven, and I looked over our menu and realized there is creamed corn on the menu, but no recipe for creamed corn, and thankfully I just happened to have a can of creamed corn, so this is what we're using. I know that's a huge disappointment for all of you, but desperate times call for desperate measures. We're going with the canned. This will be our first course, and they did say to make it icy, so I put it in the freezer. It is nice and icy. We have our stuffed potatoes, American chop suey, our canned creamed corn, sour cream coleslaw, and we'll show you the blackberry pie here in a minute. I can't imagine that this cantaloupe is going to taste any different than a regular cantaloupe. I've tried a cantaloupe before, but for the sake of the video and the entire menu, we'll try it. Tastes like a delicious icy cantaloupe. I would not imagine starting my meal with a cantaloupe. I feel like this is more of a dessert food, but whatever they said in the 1920s, I suppose we're going with. I have higher hopes for this dinner than the last one. Although the American chop suey, which really, I don't know if I said this out loud earlier or not, it really just strikes me as unmixed goulash. But you mix meat, pasta, tomatoes, and onions. I feel like you can't go wrong. We're gonna find out if we did. Potatoes, cabbage with sour cream. It's gotta be good. It's not bad. Not the best thing I've ever had. Still a tiny bit bland, but certainly not bad. Oh. Oh boy.
Did you just break a tooth? Do we need to take you to the emergency room?
Wow. The macaroni noodles, the elbows that were on top, apparently got extremely dried out in that low and slow heat. I don't know if you can hear that, but yeah, it sounds like I'm eating my own teeth. It's terrible. It tastes good. It just is a little concerning. Our stuffed potatoes, mashed potatoes in a potato, Hobbit's favorite. Pretty darn good. And for the coleslaw, I am a vinegar coleslaw type of person. I don't like mayo, but I love sour cream. That's good coleslaw. Cream corn from a can probably tastes exactly like it did the last time I had it. And it does. I'd say overall, this meal rates much higher than last week's meal. Just be a little careful getting the pasta from the top of that American chop suey. And this is the Blackberry Pie by recipe. There is really nothing appealing about it. We're gonna try it, and then as we discussed before, my sister so nicely and wonderfully offered to make the crust, and she also was very upset that this would be the result of her skills. So she made her pie crust, and we made a second pie to redeem her skills and the pie in general. I'm not even really sure how I'm supposed to cut this, but I'm gonna go for it. Hey. Look at that. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's fine. Get a little blackberry on the crust. I will give it, it tastes much better than it looks. I know that isn't saying much, but really the flavor and the texture of the bottom of this crust isn't bad. Let's try the edge here. Oh, sounds almost as crispy as the top of that macaroni. Flavor's not bad. Texture's not great. Appearance is a 1 out of 10. Flavor's okay. And now, this is the pie to restore my sister's dignity. This is her pie crust with berries. We'll have a little bite of that too. And now, not part of the menu, but part of restoring my sister's confidence, we'll try this. And this better be good, or else she's just going to be crushed into oblivion.
I will cry.
Ugh! No, I'm just kidding. It's actually really good. Thank you so much for joining us this week. If you liked what you saw and you'd like to see more, please give us a like and subscribe to this channel. Join us next Friday, where we'll be making some fricasseed chicken along with plenty of other things, probably good and bad. You'll have to tune in to find out.